Either way works fine for me. I just ask you to turn off the cigarette when we get into the forest. It's a little dry out these times of the year.
Okay.
All right. Hi.
Hey there.
Pretty good. John Cole.
Shane Minham.
Shane Minham. Pleasure. World Birding Center, huh? Well, we might have something in common. I can tell. The hat, you're more of a local guy.
Yes, I don't have as much hair on my head as Pat.
Hey, and you are?
I'm Samantha, the rocket scientist videographer.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
She's also a Dallas Cowboy fan, and Cardinals, too.
Not as obvious as it is.
Go Cardinals.
You get the Cardinals color. Did anyone see anyone else who happened to be
Those
She
are
went back to check on some signage.
Anyway, we got a couple more minutes. We'll give her a chance.
She's not back on site. And where are you from?
I'm originally from Massachusetts, and I've only recently relocated here and learning the ways of South Texas. And since we're from California, we might have a couple things that you don't know, but probably other people around here are already a few steps ahead, but we'll see what we can do. So what kind of work do people do?
I think they're all interpretive guides, except for me. I'm the rocket scientist / videographer, but...
You? Hale, was it right?
That's right. Just signed up.
Just signed up?
Just officially signed on as the new supervisor of recreation at Kingdom House.
All right, excellent. Congratulations.
Very excited about it. Hope
Welcome to the club.
City well. Yeah. We're looking to you.
So what, Jen?
Yes.
What brings you to the thicket?
Just here on vacation. Let's see what's around.
Okay. Well, you picked the hottest time of the day to be on vacation.
It's kind of warm.
But we have tours, every opportunities for all kinds of people and all kinds of weather.
Think of a sing thing out here?
Depends on what you want to see. There's actually plenty to see. Worth all the value that many people claim that it has. In fact, they feel that this picture would be far better, dipping their brush into gray, white tones, without any vegetation at all. That this painting would be far more valuable just as agricultural or just as grassy land, without the thicket itself. Before we talk about them, why don't we walk into this painting and actually see some of the details about the scrubland and the thicket. Do you mind holding that? If not, we can share off with some people. Alrighty. This is actually the larger painting frame. You may now enter. You could just see you walking to the first curve. So do they have the thicket inside? No. But they do have some low areas outside of Los Angeles. So I'm pretty similar. Around this way, or that way. Choose your fancy. Okay. I like to give options to people on my trip. Where did you say you were coming from again?
Dallas.
Oh, okay, here it is.
Down here for a plumber convention, saw the thing about the tour.
The plumber convention. Oh, yeah, I've heard about that. Okay.
Repairing a lot of leaks these days?
You definitely got an invite.
Yeah, no, we get a couple plumbers every now and then.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's Carl Smith.
All right, well, you probably know that these are vicious killers. They'll take you down in a single bite.
That's a pretty one.
Yeah, well, anyone want to take pictures of it?
It won't strike you.
No. So you know about coral snakes and smoky?
I know they have to chew on you.
Yeah, they are especially...
So who's going to let one chew on you, daytime? That's amazing.
Good point,
It's
good
moving
point.
in daytime in this heat.
It doesn't
Usually I
look like
only
it's
see
moving
those
a
early in
whole
the
lot.
morning.
Yeah. Well, we see more likely to see rattlesnakes in the thicket here, which is, why is my walking stick and my snake stick have a double function. For coral snakes, it's not as much of a challenge, but for anyone who hasn't seen one, does anyone know that little aphorism or saying so you can tell the difference between a coral snake and a milk snake? I see, Matt, you were nodding your head. Do you know how it goes?
That the red and yellow kind of fellow, red and black, friend of Jack.
It goes into the red and the yellow.
Mm-hmm. And so they think that they see the black in the red, and they think that it's a king snake or milk snake, and they get confused.
And then they get sorry.
They get sorry.
That's good. They come from Massachusetts, not spending much time in Mexico.
We don't have those in California. I don't know.
All right.
They're
everybody. Just a quick number ahead. When the Spanish explorers first arrived in South Texas, they described impenetrable forest, impassable mesquite and ebony and thicket. Oh, but there is an object I wanted to show you to exemplify that. Someone else. Well, can you help me out here? There's this one right in there. You see that aluminum can right there? Did you go get that for me? Are you kidding? Why? Why not? It's fairly impenetrable, huh? Yeah. Well, that's exactly what the Spanish explorer said, minus the aluminum can, of course. You know, they couldn't get through. But those same explorers did notice and added a small adjective to their impenetrable. They said it was almost impenetrable. And the reason why they said almost is because they did find that the Native Americans living here at the time did hack their way through the thicket so that they could communicate between their different communities. Nonetheless, despite that small exception, while the humans are busy struggling with the thorns and the thicket and all the stuff that we see around us in the Smoky was refused to enter, it was room for the animals. It wasn't a problem for the wildlife. Let me give you a little example. I don't know if the people who are from the area are familiar with Tour Longoria. He's written here for the background. In a small way, he's going to accompany us on this trip to add a little bit of insight. So I'm going to read a passage from this original work and think like whoever was this that was asking about the animals, I think Smokey, this is probably the best that I can do for four-legged and feathered animals at this time of day. So he writes this in his book. Concealed within a thicket were white-tailed deer, javelina, you can see one of the animals? Javelina, coyotes, bobcats, raccoons, ocelots, weasels, opossums, badgers, gray foxes, ground squirrels, cottontail rabbits, jaguarundis, skunks, kangaroo mice, field rats, and shrews, and diamondback rattlesnakes, indigo snakes, rat snakes, horn snakes, coral snakes. There you go. See, it really isn't a dangerous animal after all. Bull snakes, long-nosed snakes, cat-eyed snakes, garter snakes, blind snakes, and countless lizards, skinks, and frogs that are small and large, nocturnal, diurnal, crepuscular, walking and sliding, barking, howling, hissing, all of them between a raucous and row of calls and whistles, from hundreds of birds that hopped from branches to paths and nested among protective thorns. These were the brush vines of his youth. I had to read that because otherwise we wouldn't see any of them. Although if we came at a different hour, I think we would get a little bit of hopping and see a little more pattern. So when did he write that? The book was published in 1997, but his youth obviously was long before that. So the reference is
we have Mrs. Allen now. He's checking in the cafeteria and newsletters.
Is that right? Yeah. Well, then heck, we know the book.
Yeah, we know him. He comes up and
If you have any keep posting them along the way, let me know. It's certainly not the only sources of inspiration. So when those first explorers came and they looked at the thicket and they went like, God, we don't like the nice forests that we have in Spain and in Europe. In fact, these forests really were full of wildlife. And the very density of these forests may have actually been a benefit in some sense. The way I like to describe it, at least to my kids when they ask, is you might use an analogy that thicket is to people as Coruscant, capital of the Federation in Star Wars, is to people. Has anyone seen Coruscant, any of the Star Wars movies? You've seen it. What was Coruscant like?
The whole planet city.
Yeah, and describe that city. It's really, really crowded. It's just unending thicket of buildings with all different heights.
The thicket is the wildlife as Coruscant is the people.
The thicket, well,
That's what you said was the thicket is the people as Coruscant.
that would probably be a better way of putting it.
Well, that's
tell my kids
what you said. Is that what
I don't mind updating it. Here, let me try that again. The thicket is to wildlife,
Right.
as Coruscant is to people.
That's not.
Yeah, I'm glad people were listening. Sometimes by this point they're already sleeping.
Plumbers, we got to pump.
Make sure things flowing while right along.
Right, things don't flow.
Well, speaking of flow, let us continue flowing down the pathway here. Come on, take your time. Don't want me blocking your view the whole way. We will go check out now from the plant's perspective now that we've seen animals. So how do hunters get away from the conference to come over here?
Well, you know, my dad was really into nature and tried to get out when I can.
I'll get some animals.
Get out while you can, like can.
Butterflies. The people who work around here know what kind of
Get off the
butterflies.
can.
It was Mexican blue ring, exactly. So we've got at least 6 legs so far on our skin. How's it in the back here, Hale?
Well, they're bringing up the rear.
Yeah, someone's got to do it.
Plumber.
It's an important task. No question about that.
Got me?
Gotcha.
Thank you.
You're like one of those people who doesn't like this kind of thing. I hope you change your opinion after before.
Where are you from?
My car.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
There's quite a couple people out here this morning.
There's peanuts in the kitchen.
Yeah, it's this question, especially from the out-of-towners, but anyone can jump in. Why is this forest this choice? I mean, you've got the tallest forest in the world in your home state of California. The boys live with. That's right. And those guys are pretty big. Now, what are the differences between this forest and that?
It's all about the water.
It is. Water is a big key.
That somebody got it.
Spoken from the plumber himself. Well, let's not just get stopped up right there. Continue. You're absolutely right. This is obviously a fairly dry situation, arid, extra dry in some parts of the South Texas area. Are there any other differences?
Well, sometimes it's more important what's going on below ground than what's going on above ground.
Another well-said observation. My goodness, I think I will hand this to you. And you should be in my profession. Anyway, let me show her. Let me think of that. So, yeah, what besides the water, what other conditions here make it a little more difficult, shall we say?
The soil. So that's what I meant by what goes on below ground. Is what goes on above ground, because the soil probably wouldn't support gigantic trees.
Well, this is pretty true. You don't have to dig too far to find that there isn't a whole lot of soil before you reach. There's a lot of sand underneath South Texas. Even though some of the roots of these trees, like the mesquite, can go down pretty far, well, because they have to. Exactly. So the soil is not too good. There's not too much water here. What about the air, the weather? What about the climate?
I imagine this is tropical and semi-arid temperate zone. It's like a combination of all kinds of things here.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of warm here, too, huh? Okay. Sometimes it's humid, too.
Doesn't seem too bad to me.
No, not at this time. I guess it has its moments, I'm told. I haven't been through a complete cycle here yet, South Texas. But here can get pretty darn humid. But the plants, they've developed a few, shall we say, technologies to handle these conditions. For example, to handle the lack of water. Does anyone know any of the technologies here? Adaptations, if you will. I work with both words. Like these leaves. What about these leaves? That might have something to do with everything. What do you think it's something? It's hot. Need more water to get it out. Exactly. Has anyone been to a tropical rainforest? Or even a temperate rainforest, like in the northwest of the United States? I don't know if in Dallas there is any. But anyway, those leaves tend to be really big. Matter of fact, they have little bits where the water comes off. But yes, that's not a problem that they have here. They have little leaves to reduce the amount of area. Exactly. Well, how about the height of the trees themselves? Is there an advantage to saving water by being short?
Well, you're not pumping it up so high, that's for one thing.
That's definitely true. You don't need as much water pressure. Excellent. I get either a fireman or a plumber every time I do this tour. I need to be the plumber. I should. I didn't need to say. That's right. You don't need to pump it up too high. And also by being shorter, you don't have as much exposure to the sun. Being much taller, you have much more insolation, which is good if you don't have to worry about losing water. But certainly in areas that don't grow as fast here as well. Now in some places, and if someone who's local can correct me, for example, that plant right behind you, which is pure thorn. Does anyone know there's an advantage to having thorns in terms of water saving? Does that smile mean you know, Shane?
Hold that. It means they protect themselves, so I guess they don't have to grow back to something useful. They can eat something to eat and they don't have to lose that part of them.
Well, certainly, if you don't get eaten, you're still there in that sense. But if you do have a protection of that, what other kind of protection might you not need to invest energy in? Especially in places where you grow out somewhat slowly and don't want to use energy for that. How do other plants? Now, there are some other plants, I don't know if there's any around here. Someone does let me know that it's a little acidic. Is there one around here?
I'm sure there is.
Not local knowledge? Plumber knows.
Plumber knows. Tap into it.
Tap into it. In any event, there are some plants that do invest energy into having chemicals so that things won't eat it. And other things that just use mechanical defenses and don't need to waste the energy. And in environments where energy is important because there's so little water, can be a water-saving mechanism. In terms of the soil, as the plumber had noted earlier, I'm sure you've all eaten some of these things in a salad or something similar to this at some point, correct?
There you go.
Oh, do we have the acidic?
Lime prickly ash.
Oh, yeah. So you don't even have to taste it, you just have to smell it, and you can already smell the chemicals. I guess if you imagine yourself 1,000 times smaller putting your nose up to there, you might not even eat it. But anyway, as I was mentioning, these particular items, which look like pea pods in our salad, actually come from the same group of plants called... Bet you know. What are the plants called, the ones that have these pods like this?
Oh, Lord.
Well, you could call them that.
I'm going to jump out on them legumes.
Yeah.
Legumes.
Legumes.
And another point for the plumber.
Is it peanut or legume?
I believe it is.
Oh, I told you.
What?
I told you. You don't even listen.
What? Peanut is also legume. And legumes, they kind of like, how during Hurricane Katrina, for example, nobody was anywhere near the hurricane at that time, right? Okay. When the main power goes out, you can't depend on others, then you need to depend on yourself. So you have your own generator. In their case, people had generators of electricity. You should imagine that a lot of them failed, but aside from that fact, having your own ability to generate a certain necessity is exactly what the legumes do here. I mean, aside from the photosynthesis that all the plants do, these legumes develop something very important for this very low nutrient soil. Has anyone heard what that might be? Begins with an N. Is that backwards? There we go. Nitrogen. There you go. That's right. They generate their own nitrogen to rejuvenate the particular soil here. So in fact, the majority of trees in South Texas, or at least the thorn scrub, are leguminous or leguminous. And even though it might look like just the shamble, almost looks like that. What was the name of that forest that in The Hobbit, where Smaug was in, had to go through Tolkien described it a lot. Mirkwood. There isn't an area I can't get you on. Tolkien described it a lot like this. The jumbled, the things sticking out and grabbing you. Perhaps imagining at night with the arms coming out in the darkness. But in fact, it really has a lot of diversity and a lot of strategies, a lot of plants, and do you need bug spray?